Marshmallows, and welcome to a new video. Today is yet another part edition episode, I don't know, in my How to Make series, in which I talk about how you can make the perfect game for any character or a franchise as a whole. I did One Piece all the way back in December. Not the best, but you know, it sort of got my point across decently well. Probably, most likely not leave a link in the description to that video, but do make sure to check it out. But today is a lot more difficult of a video to make, because today we'll be talking about the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Now, I'm mostly making this video because there's a common conception, a common belief, that making a Superman game is impossible, or to the very least, really difficult to make. It's not really, but there is people do think that, mostly because Superman is an overpowered character. You know, his main thing is that he's a god trying to live amongst men. Basically, that's sort of his thing. He's like this super powerful character that can literally do anything he wants, really, with very little resistance. But you know, he's trying to be a good guy. You know, he's trying to live a normal life. You know, he wants to be a normal guy, but then he uses his, you know, abilities, the powers that are given to him, you know, to actually do good. You know, to use them for good. Obviously, there are the stories where he's not exactly doing that, and you can even use that in this game. But I'll talk about that later in the video. So there's two sides of it. Either you can have Superman be as overpowered as he is normally, you know, you can turn an entire building into dust with like a punch, you know, and like fly to the sun in like a minute and all that kind of stuff, you know. But then the game wouldn't be very fun or challenging, you know. But then there's there's on the flip side, you can have him not be as overpowered as he normally is. You know, that would add some fun, some challenge to the game, you know, actually make it a good, decent game, but it wouldn't be a Superman game then. It would just be a game where you play as a character who resembles and acts like Superman, but really isn't Superman, you know, that sort of thing. It just wouldn't feel like a cop-out, I guess you could say. It wouldn't feel good. It wouldn't feel like a Superman game. It would just, yeah. So, and that mostly depends on the setting and the world and the environment and just how everything's set up. If you have a grounded Superman game, which first off just doesn't even make sense, where you're just like fighting normal dudes on the street and like trying to stop the mafia or doing like stupid stuff like that, obviously the game's not gonna be any good, really. Like, it's just not gonna work, okay? Have it be, probably like make that sort of like a small section of the game, but make most of the game like about like characters that can actually pose a threat, you know? Like, obviously Batman can handle all of that. That's what the Batman Arkham series is all about, you know? Like, you're just fighting normal dudes, basically, in the Arkham series, besides like Bane, who's on like mega steroids, but that's beside the point. Like, I think mostly because like people are so used to, like, you know, the Batman Arkham games or like the Spider-Man games where you fight characters who weren't, you know, super overpowered, you know, you fight sort of, I guess you could say, grounded, but you know, Spider-Man sort of, they are super powered, so you know, that's that thing. But you know, like, they're sort of used to that whole thing, but they're where you're just like fighting normal dudes. I don't think they realize that you can actually just have him fight like super powerful characters. Like, obviously Superman, like, most of the time he's fighting either characters that are just as overpowered as himself or characters that have like a counter to him and his abilities, you know, obviously for his multitude of weaknesses, his Swiss Army knife of weaknesses that he has, you know. So that's sort of how it should work, you know. You're not fighting normal dudes. You're never gonna get anywhere. If you want to have like a grounded game, you can do that, but with like an inexperienced, sort of like an origin story for Superman, sort of like Smallville or Man of Steel or something like that, where you haven't reached that level where you're really Superman. You're sort of just like growing into Superman, you know. Like in Smallville, Clark only learned how to fly by like the end of the show, you know. That sort of thing, you know. You're not yet at the peak that you would normally be. And you know, an origin story would sort of do that well. You know, you're just like you're basically Superboy in like Young Justice. You know, he wasn't really Superman. You know, he didn't have the full extent of Superman's abilities. You know, he was just sort of like a weakened version of Superman. He was just an unfinished clone. You know, like as I said, Superboy from Young Justice, he was just that. You know, you could have like an origin story for Superman, or even just do like a Superboy story or whatever, where you're like the clone of Superman, and like for some of the game you actually believe that you're Superman. I don't really know, but that's besides the point. So like, if you want to do that, you can have an origin story. I will have all that. I'll do separate videos. This video is mainly on gameplay mechanics and just that kind of thing. I'll make a story video later on. Like there will be a second part to this, basically, where I'll talk about story and I'll get into like the origin story, how you can do all that in another video. But for now, talking only about gameplay. So obviously, as I said, you can have a grounded game with an origin story, or you could have like certain section of the game, like the beginning of the game, be sort of grounded and you're just fighting normal dudes and whatever. But then like at like the second like half of the game or whatever, you're actually starting to fight people that are just like super strong, just like very overpowered characters. That sort of thing. You could have sort of like a progression, or you can just have it be like overpowered, or just have a grounded game with like a less overpowered Superman in his, like, not yet in his prime, basically, is what I'm trying to show off here. So, first off, combat, obviously. This is sort of like the main thing. Combat. What would combat be like with Superman? Superman generally isn't really, he's not Batman. He's not, like, the greatest fighter ever. Obviously, how should I say this? As I said, he's very overpowered, so that means he really doesn't need to know how to fight super well. Obviously, because he can just, like, beat anybody with, like, a basic punch, so it really doesn't matter if he can, like, do a roundhouse kick. It really wouldn't matter. So, obviously, just have a basic attack button, you know? Maybe, like, a block button in, like, certain cases, you know, you can use a block button. Maybe have a dodge button, or sort of do, like, in DC Universe Online, where you, like, move the stick while you're holding down the block button, and you would do, like, a roll that you can, like, dodge an attack or something that you can't block, or something like that. Maybe have like a grab button where you can just like grab somebody, like throw them, like grab an object to throw at people, or just like grab somebody and like, you know, you can incapacitate him that way, whatever, sort of like that. That's sort of like basic combat. Then you would have like your superpowers, your abilities, your main offensive abilities. Heat vision, super breath, freeze breath. I'll get into that later on in the video, on like how you can sort of develop all this, but you know, like choose what abilities you use most. So obviously heat vision would be sort of like a very fatal attack, and then like super breath and freeze breath will maybe be like crowd control. You know, you're not exactly how do I say this? You're not trying to kill your people, you're just trying to stop them. That's basically what I'm trying to say. You know, there are ways you can do this. I'll talk about that in the story part of this Superman edition thing, whatever, in the next video. So yeah, sort of like that. Your heat vision, super breath, heat breath. Freeze breath. Then you have his flight. Obviously, as you can see in the gameplay in the background, don't have flying like this for Superman. Have like actual good flight controls, please. And also make it faster. Have like a super speed button, basically, where you normally you're going fast, but you're not going as fast as you normally would. But then you have like the super speed button where you're just like going super fast, like supersonic, you know, like crazy fast. You know, your attacks get stronger whilst you're holding down this button. You fly a lot faster. It's sort of like the boost button from Dragon Ball Xenoverse. You know, where you like use your key to like propel yourself, that sort of thing. You know, you just like enhance and like quicken yourself. Another thing which I don't think would be good for like this, for like a Superman video, for a Superman game, it would work better for Flash, like a focus button, a focus mode, where basically you press the button down and then like everything else like slows down or even like stops completely, and then you're just going at your normal speed. You know, you're flying, like you're flying, you're moving, you're doing everything like you normally would, but everything else is just like super slowed down or just stopped. And you could do some interesting things with that, like, you know, you're saving a hostage from somebody. You're getting people out of trouble, like if you're like somebody's gonna get hit by a bullet or like a car or something, you could do that. You could also use it to like dodge an attack, you know, like if somebody's shooting like a massive kryptonite ray at you, and you can't really dodge in time or something, or and like blocking isn't gonna work and all that. You can like press this focus mode, and then you can just like fly out of the way. Obviously, kind of overpowered ability, but as I said, Superman's an overpowered character, so you might as well do that. And you know, obviously, don't like limit it. Obviously, don't have it last forever. You can just like only use it for a couple seconds, and then like it goes away, and you have to wait for it to like recharge, whatever, like something like that. Basically, is what I'm trying to convey. But I think that works more for like the Flash. I feel it would work a lot more, a lot better for the Flash. But you can also use it like a weakened down version of it for like Superman. Flying, as I said, don't have controls like this, but the world. This is something I really want to talk about. The world, the map. I hate in games where you like go to the end of the map and you either like something just happens. You can't get anywhere past this. Like there's no point in like flying to the edge of the map, you know. I haven't tried that in DC Universe Online, but there's a certain way. I'm not sure what game I got this from, but I know there's like a way where you can like fly. You know, you can fly or like go to like the edge of the map, and then like it would prompt you to like go to another area, another map, basically, another city. So like, you know, in a Superman game, you like fly to the north of Metropolis, and then, you know, it prompts you to like, would you want to go to I don't know, like Star City? Well, not Star City, but like Gotham, or like go to the Fortress of Solitude if you like fly to the north, and then like fly to the south, or fly to the east. If you fly to like a certain point in the map, you can like go to another area. And this is sort of how you can have a proper Superman game, because, you know, really it wouldn't be fun if you're playing a Superman to not be able to like go across the entire world, you know, like the entire planet. Like, well, it wouldn't really feel that cool, you know. It would, as I said, work better for like a grounded Superman game. But like if you're trying to do like a proper Superman game where you're fighting like a massive threat, don't constrict it to just one city. You know, you can have it go over like different areas, you know, of the world. I think it was like Assassin's Creed, actually. I think had this, like, you go to like in like a Black Flag, you could go like, I'm not sure. I think it wasn't Black Flag. It was the other one that was like basically a copy paste of Black Flag. Anyways, so you can do sort of like that, where you like fly to a certain point on the map, you can go to a different area, that sort of thing. So, you know, you don't feel very constricted. You actually feel like you can do basically whatever you want. Of course, you know, considering technology is like advancing a lot, I think at some point we might have like be able to like go across the entire planet, like all of Earth, like almost like realistic like size, and like fluidly, no like loading screens, no anything, and it will actually be detailed too. But I think for like now, 2017, you know, not like 2047 where you can pull that off. 2017, my idea works a lot better. Then this is sort of a bigger thing. Morality. Have a morality system where you can basically you limit the player in like what they should do, basically, like what is right to do, you know, because like as I said earlier, heat vision, you could just like melt everybody that in existence like immediately, you know, if you're doing it realistically. Obviously, if you're doing the stupid way, you're just like you're not making him as overpowered, and like heat vision wouldn't do anything to anybody, like obviously that's not gonna happen. Like you shoot somebody with a laser, like a proper laser, like Superman has. They are gonna die, or at least a limb is gonna get cut off. Okay, there's none of that stupidness is gonna happen. Okay, so so in order to limit that, have a morality system where if you kill like a human character or whatever, like your heat vision, obviously the game would be a lot easier, but then like something happened, there would be repercussions, consequences. Sort of like in Dishonored, where like you have the chaos system, or whatever, where you can kill everybody and it would make the game a lot easier. You know, you can go through it a lot quicker. Where if you just like fight everybody and not go stealthily and like try to put them to sleep and all that kind of stuff. You know, you can just like murder and massacre everybody in sight. The game would be a lot easier, but then like you would have like an evil thing, and then there was like blood flies or whatever. The blood flies would like pop up in like the map or whatever, and yeah, they would like mess you up. You wouldn't be able to go certain areas, or they would like attack you, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you don't have blood flies or like the rat plague in a Superman game. But yeah, so that sort of thing, where like something changes in the world, or like people interact with you differently, like your relationships change, like you go full evil Superman, like kill basic thugs, like kill civilians in the streets, do craziness, just cause a ton of chaos. You would be having fun, game would be a lot easier, but then like Lois wouldn't marry you by the end of the game, and like the Justice League would start attacking you at some point. Like do crazy stuff like that, where if you're like going super crazy, like Wonder Woman, Batman, all these guys would just like pop and be like, Clark, you need to calm down. Just calm down. Like they would arrest you or just like fight you and you would die. Crazy stuff like that, you know, like have repercussions if you like want to go crazy. Like you want to let the player go crazy, just have repercussions there. You know, like a morality system, as I said. Something changes. You could go full crazy Superman, but then like the game would be fun, but then something would happen. Or you could play it properly, then the game would be a lot slower, you know, be a bit more difficult, you know, like using your super breath and like freeze breath to like take people out, whatever, and like punching them and all that. And so have like ways where you can limit the player in what they would do versus what they could do versus what they shouldn't do, basically. So yeah, as I said, a morality system. I think that's mostly it for this. I'm not sure if like there's really anything else you can do gameplay wise. Also for bits like a game where if you want to play as like Clark Kent, you want to play it, let the player play as Clark Kent. I'll get more in this in like the story part of the video. If you want to do that, sort of like have like a good investigation like thing, like a decent investigation sort of model, I guess, I don't know, like mechanics, you know, if you want to let them play as like Clark Kent as the news reporter, yeah, as like a side thing, you know, or as like a certain bit of the main mission, whatever. But yeah, I think that's mostly it. I'm not entirely sure like if I can add anything in terms of like gameplay or whatever. I think I talked about most what I want to talk about. I'm not sure if I talked about the flash thing, like the focus mode. I've recorded this video about 1,000,000 times already to get it right. So I think I've forgotten most things because I said them in another video, probably. Like another recording of this, who knows. But yeah, I think that's actually going to be it for this part. I'll do a second part where I talk about the story and all that all that jazz. But yeah, I think that's mostly it. Oh, and another thing is like interplanetary travel. I think like at a certain stage, and like if you're doing like a series of this game, of these games, and like you have like interplanetary sort of thing where you can go from like Earth to the moon and like the moon to the sun and stuff like that, obviously have ways and means of handling that, you know, so doing like that. But yeah, so like you can basically use the same system as like for just like normal world, like have like a basic overall overworld, almost like Star Trek. Actually, Star Trek Online actually did this pretty well. You know, like you had like the overworld, like the galaxy map or whatever, and then you had like small solar systems, all that kind of stuff, clusters, all that kind of crazy stuff. And sort of like as you got bigger, it's sort of like you went into like a different speed to like travel in a certain way. But they actually had a pretty good like interplanetary system in Star Trek Online. So yeah, but I think that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Part 2 will be out shortly. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Troll on, baby.